and welcome to San Jacinto Battleground. My name is Caitlin Shaver, and I'm one of the educators at the site. Today, we're going to talk about food preservation. To show you this process, we're going to make some hardtack. Food is a short-lived but important commodity. People back in the 1800s would use various methods to make sure that their food was able to last longer. If they didn't use those methods, if they didn't preserve their food, then they could run the risk of their food growing mold, maybe have some worms or weevils get in the food, maybe critters get in there, or your food could get other foodborne illnesses. People would preserve their food using, among other methods, pickling, salting, a process called fat capping, smoking, mainly for meats, or they would take the moisture out of the food, because if the food didn't have any water in it, then the bacteria had no way to grow. One common method of preservation was to make a food called hardtack. Hardtack is kind of like a cracker, a hard cracker. It's made of flour, water, salt, and you cook it low and slow until you've cooked all the water out. And this would be a common food that soldiers especially would carry around with them. So today we are going to make some hardtack, and we'll provide you the recipe in the show notes. Welcome to my kitchen. We really only need 3 ingredients. So we have our flour right here. You can use all-purpose, whole wheat, whatever you want to use. You need just enough water to kind of get the mixture wet, but not so wet it sticks. And then the final ingredient is salt. We've got a bowl for mixing, spoon for mixing. When we get ready to shape our dough, we've got our rolling pin right there. Eventually we're going to use a pan, and you probably noticed there's a couple other items here that seem kind of odd. So the thing about hardtack is, especially when it was a military food, they like to have it consistent in shape and size, 3 inches by 3 inches, and then about a ½ inch thick. What I usually do is I'll take a index card, I'll cut it so it's 3 by 3, and then I'll put a little mark here for about the ½ inch. I can just put this down, cut it out, and then make sure I have the right amount of dough. The other odd items are the toothpicks and the nail. Hardtack has holes in it. It's got 4 holes on a row going down and a row going across. They typically would use like a nail like this to make those holes, or if you don't have a nail, you can get creative with toothpicks. They even sometimes had what was called a hardtack shaper or hardtack cutter, which was a pre-made mold, kind of like a cookie cutter, but made for the hardtack, and it would have these nail parts sticking where the holes would be. We don't have that, so we're going to do it the good old-fashioned way. The first step in this process is to preheat our oven to 375 degrees. Now, if you're living out on the Texas frontier in the 1800s, you would not have a nice fancy oven. So they would be using, say, campfire, Dutch oven, or a skillet of some kind. But for today, we're going to be using our oven. We're going to take all those ingredients, water, flour, and salt, and we're going to mix it in a big old bowl like this one here. And you'll notice when I start doing this that I'm going to be mixing it with my hand. Now, that gives the best consistency for this recipe, but you can just as easily mix it with the spoon as well. Alright, so we have mixed our flour, water, and salt. You notice it's not really sticking to my hand, but it is sticky enough that it stays in one big ball. So we're going to shape the dough now, and we want to have it about ½ inch thick. We want to have our pieces 3 by 3 inches. So I'm using my cheat sheet here. So we're going to put that on there. I usually will take a knife, just kind of cut it out since we don't have a hardtack cutter. It's okay if it's not exact. Try and get it as close as possible. So now we've got our hardtack in a square shape, and we need to put the holes in. For this, we're going to use a nail. We're going to make 4 holes, and you don't want to push all the way through, okay? So just very gently, kind of halfway through the dough like that. Try and get them kind of spaced apart there if possible. Then we're going to flip it over gently and do the same set of holes on the other side. If you've got extra pieces of dough, what you do is just squish it all together back in that roll of dough, and we're going to re-flatten this out, and we'll cut out another piece and we'll keep going until we've used up all the material. We have our hardtack laid out. It's time to put it in the oven, and we're going to leave it in the oven for about 30 minutes. Then we're going to flip the pieces over and we'll cook them for an additional 30 minutes. Welcome back. So we are at our final step. We're going to take our hardtack out. Here's our hardtack. As you can see, it's fully cooked. It is very hot right now, so we're going to let this cool for a little bit and then we'll see if we can eat it. We have our completed hardtack, and now I'm going to show you how you eat it. As you can see, hardtack is very hard. So if you want to eat this, you have to add moisture back in. So I'm going to dunk it in my water, kind of like an Oreo. And you're going to want to let it sit there for a couple of seconds. Once you think it's got enough of that water, once you think it's gotten soft enough, you take it back out. You bite it in. That's how you eat hardtack. I know hardtack seems like a very old-fashioned food, but we still have a need for preserved foods today. Look around. Maybe you've got some MREs on the shelf. Maybe you've got some canned goods in your emergency kit, possibly some granola bars. These foods may not be the tastiest, but they're reliable. And hardtack is the original MRE. It is very hard. And our co-star here, by the way, is Ginkgo. He really likes hardtack.